Hello, everyone. I wanted to do a recording to talk about the rules related to using music during streaming or content creation. I see questions asked about it still to this day, and I see a lot of new composers or artists. I want to do my best to kind of respond to really everyone on this front, so I'm going to do that. First, I want to let you know that I'm going to put this recording in the gaming category because I'm going to be focused more on the streamers or content creators who transition. What I mean by that is a lot of your content creators or streamers now will go to just chatting to gaming to cooking. They really do switch around. So I'm going to be kind of more focused on that type of audience. I'm also going to be talking about esports a little bit, but the bulk of this is going to be focused on the music portion itself. So, given that I'm kind of in between two categories, I'm going to focus on putting myself in gaming. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about the first problem, and that is the legal definitions. A lot of your artists or composers have a copy and paste, no commercial use clause for their music. This presents a problem for streamers because technically that can include them, and you can see that I've had this definition of commercial use from Cornell up on the screen for quite a while now. I want you to focus on the last piece of that sentence, which says, directly or indirectly, in connection with any business or other undertaking intended for profit. And that's what streaming and content creation is. It is for profit by legal definition, which means that they can be qualified as commercial use. So, due to the confusion and gray areas of the rules, that means that streamers or content creators will get punished for using music because they only have this clause, non-commercial, or non-commercial use, because that's the clause that you will see most common. What you have to do as a composer is be aware that you have to create a separate clause for content creators or streamers because if you're just copying and pasting the no commercial use, which I see them do all the time, then you're effectively saying that they affect those people as well. So let me go ahead and tab over 1 second. Okay. I want to quickly point towards an example here from Adrian Von Ziegler. I've been aware of his music for quite some time, and this is perhaps the best example of how to do things right. You'll notice that under the description that he specifically has a clause for an exemption towards the content creators and streamers. Look, I'll even highlight it. There it is. So, exempt YouTube and Twitch. It's right there in parentheses in his clause. This is how you do things right. So, I give props to Adrian Von Ziegler for being aware of this and putting that in there. Because now it makes it very clear that he's making an exception to what is considered commercial use on the legal end. Let me talk about why this is important. It's important because there are two factors that a content creator or streamer needs in order to use the music on their stream. One's going to be permission from the artist or composer, and two is information related to the label. Because a lot of times what has happened is a artist or composer has given permission to use their music but are part of a label. That's where a lot of the DMCA strikedowns occurred. It's because the artist or composer was like, yes, please use my music. And then their label came in and said, no, screw you. You are not allowed to do it this way. It's really unfortunate that the labels aren't in sync with the composers or artists, that their music is under. But unfortunately, that is just the case. Because of that, you need to inform the streamer or content creator if you are part of a label, and if you are part of a label, they need permission from you and the label. Unfortunately, your permission alone does not work. Now, I want to talk about more so towards the composers and artists why this matters to you. We call it visibility in the content creation streaming world. It means how visible are you to the general public? Because if you're somebody who is, closed off or something, or you're a small name, then more than likely the general public hasn't heard of you. And sometimes it can apply to bigger names. I'll get into that in a minute. But the more that you can put your music into different places, the more visibility you can get, is essentially how you have to think about it. In this particular case, you have YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, a couple other places, but you also have the content creators, which are going to be, content creators / streamers, which is going to be YouTube and Twitch. If you don't have a clause for content creators or streamers, you are essentially limiting yourself to just the other services. If you make a clause specific to them, though, now you're opening up your music to the streamers and content creators, which gives you now more places to get visibility. And that's what you want. You want to put yourself out there as much as possible within reason. I understand that you have to protect your music because, you worked hard on it and things like that. But at the same time, just be aware that, it does matter for your brand, because even if you lose money somewhere, such as, Twitch or YouTube, you can gain that money back by increased visibility. So just be aware. I want to just quickly bring up an example of a composer I recently commented on. I won't say their name because I've already commented on their YouTube, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm putting them on blast. That's not my intention. I want to use them as an example to say this is how you handle things wrong. Now, kind of a branching thought on this. It's possible that a streamer or content creator will hear of you and reach out to you to say, hey, I need permission. And when that happens, you have a choice to either say no thank you or say, hey, what can I do? The worst thing you can do, though, is ignore them. I've encountered this recently with a composer that I think has really great music, and when I commented the first time, I said, hey, I see that you have a clause for commercial use, which is pretty standard. Do you have a clause or want to give permission to streamers? Is essentially what I was aiming for when I made that comment. They said as long as it's non-commercial use, it's fine. And they didn't give me any other information besides that. So unfortunately, that does mean content creators or streamers. However, at the time that I made the comment, I completely forgot about the label information. So after they posted a couple more songs to their YouTube channel, I went to the newest one and asked, hey, thanks for posting music. I forgot about I didn't say it, but I was thinking about it when I was commenting. I was like, hey, I forgot about the whole label thing. Could you please include that information along with what you said in the last comment into your About Me? Well, that composer basically liked every comment other than mine and refused to comment. So that's a huge red flag, not just for the fact that you ignored me for reaching out, but also because if you're unwilling to answer questions related to your rules of the music, then that's going to drive the streamers and content creators away, because now they're like, they're going to be like, oh man, this person just does not want to work with us. They're already ignoring us. Like, what's going on here type of thing. That's going to be kind of the mentality that is going to happen when you do stuff like that. Now, to further this, I did talk to somebody who tried to contact that composer by email and try to give them a bunch of information, tips, and advice. Well, that person that contacted them, they've never received a response by email. And this was the business email they listed in their About Me for that. So that's another red flag right there. Let me talk about what you can do better as a composer or artist. As a composer or artist, you want to make sure that you make it possible to have those communications. I can name a couple of composers or artists that are so difficult to get a hold of that basically it's just not worth our time to figure out if your music should be used on the streams or content creations. So don't do anything like that person, and do a better job of trying to have open communications. There are so many ways that you can open communications these days, and I want to go ahead and quickly mention a couple just in case you need to do this. So I do agree that when it comes to most of your online email services, such as Gmail and the others, they really aren't secure, but I think you can trust Proton Mail. I would say if you can manage it, use an actual email server address, like the ones you would see with Thunderbird or the others. But if that's not possible, I would say Proton Mail would be your best bet. If you can have an email account dedicated to just streamers and content creator communications, that would make it a lot easier for them to contact you and see about using your music as background music when they're gaming, cooking, or maybe crafting their next cosplay. Now, now that I've kind of gotten into all that, let me talk about esports a little bit. This is going to be more towards music people, more so than the streamers and content creators, but when it comes to esports, they have basically what is considered halftime in normal sports. So when they have their halftime or break time, they will play a couple of clips from past games and things like that. That would be a perfect time to have your music playing in the background, and that is more visibility, essentially. So you could do that as well. As far as the streamers or content creators are concerned with this, there are a lot of esport tournaments that do allow restreaming. Restreaming is when a tournament or a business presentation gives permissions to streamers to stream their presentation or their tournament on their channel. That's actually something that you need as a streamer or content creator, is that permission to restream when you're doing something like that. But either way, when they're restreaming that stuff, they could play your music on their stream as well, and that's more visibility. So you do have to be aware of that as well. But yeah, I think that's really all I can say on the topic. I'll go and finish by saying that if you're an artist, composer, or otherwise, never underestimate the value of visibility, because there are major names out there like Thomas Bergeson, the composer from Two Steps from Hell, who is still an unknown to some people. You may think, oh, a big name like Thomas Bergeson / Two Steps from Hell is well known, and that's not the case. There are people still out there today who have never heard of Two Steps from Hell or Thomas Bergeson. More visibility is always good for your music. The more you can work with those content creators and streamers, the better your reputation will be in those communities. Thanks for listening.